And, this, yeah, yeah, I know. It looks like he's here. I know. I know, right? But feel free to, yeah, because, we're really here to connect. It's so, so important to connect in a real way. Welcome. Aw. And we also want to really connect with those of you online and make you feel felt and present with us. So welcome, really warmly welcoming you. I feel really happy to be here with you all. Good morning. Good morning. Hi. Come on in. And if we need to set up more chairs, if people don't want to sit on the ground, we can pull those in and yeah. What's your name? What is it? Tamara. Beautiful, beautiful. Rick, nice to see you. I've seen you before. Yeah, welcome. So happy to see you. Yeah. And there are blankets over there if you want to grab a blanket to be cozy. See, these guys have got a blanket for his feet. That's really nice. Yeah. I brought socks. Mm. Oh, I love that bowl. Yeah. Feel free to settle and do some movement, some stretching if you like, just to warm up the body, to really drop in. Good morning. Good morning. And what is it like for you this morning to be embodied? How does that feel? What's that really like? You can only know by dropping down in. Yeah. The answer to the question, only you can know that. Yeah, being embodied, being present in the felt sense of the body. And I always welcome. Great to see you. I always feel that to become fully present in that definition of mindfulness, it's almost like that component of the mind-body connection as being kind of, bringing that into alignment as being the first foundation of mindfulness being the body, as being really that kind of that first shift into presence, into being here in a real way, receptive, available, present, yeah. Not from the neck up. It's a full body experience, right? Being in this life. Welcome, everyone. I'm really thrilled to see you all. I know, and deep bow to everybody who's weathered and come through the rain, but there's a big smile on your face. It feels kind of cool to get here and to find others and to join. Welcome. Oh, and get your blankets. Yes, get warm and cozy if you need it. Yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah. And what's our time? I'm using my phone as a clock because I didn't wear a watch. And normally we have little clock up here. Hi, welcome. And just by way of introduction, my name's Lisa Kring. Maybe some of you know me, maybe some of you do not. I'm a teacher with InsightLA over 20 years. Oh my God, it's like I must be really getting older. 20 years. 20 years, but I live on the east side, so I was when we had our centers, just by way of introduction, I would come here occasionally to teach in this center. Isn't it amazing that we're back in this space for those of you who, it's my first time back here now, so this is really wow. It feels so comfortable though. But I taught primarily in the East Hollywood space that we used to have before COVID. So happy to be on the west side today, and also really happy to have very little traffic driving over. It was really pretty nice. Yeah. 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 Settle in on the floor. I love to sit on the floor, but I'll stay in the chair tonight. Welcome those of you online. I just want to welcome you. Give us a wave. And can you see me? Can you see the room? Hi. Ah, welcome. Welcome. Ah, peace. Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I was saying, as some of you were coming in, these minutes before we start, if you'd like to do any kind of really, you can close your eyes when you do it, just letting the body lead in this Sunday morning time, just any kind of gentle stretching, or allow yourself to drop in and in a way that is infused with a kind of friendship. Really do any stretching that you like to do. Warm the body up, warm up your practice by connecting to the body. Yeah. And just feel free. Feel free to do some stretching, some movement. Welcome, welcome. And as you do, it just really allows you to start to drop into a felt sense of the body in the room, of this morning, this moment. Yeah, making it. Welcome, hi. Welcome those of you online who are just coming in as well. Yeah, feel free to stretch. And I'm going to open with about a 30-minute meditation guided practice. And feel free, if you like to, as a way to drop down a bit more fully into your direct experience, you can stretch a little, you can move. Yeah, it's nice.
Hi, Lisa. Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Oh.
It's so nice to see you.
Ah, wonderful. Wait, can I see? Wait, where is your face online?
Uh, can
Oh,
you see me?
there. Trudy's here. We're beaming her in, beaming her up, beaming her in. Deep bow. Ah. And you're suffused with light.
Well, I'm backlit a little
I
bit.
know, but it's lovely.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm so glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you
Did you want
too.
to say something before or after? I know that just
Four.
before. Okay,
But I
great.
always give people, Lisa, I usually give people until about 4 minutes after to
Yeah.
trickle in.
Yeah. That sounds
So
good.
I thought before, and then you'll carry on with your beautiful teaching.
Okay. That sounds great.
Okay.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Trudy's here virtually, which is great. Historically, and maybe many of you come on this sit because it's been Trudy Goodman's regular Sunday morning sit. How many of you feel that you identify as being part of that? Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Welcome back. And I'm so happy that Trudy's here. She wanted to just say a few words because she's, deservedly kind of stepping back and taking a little bit of a sabbatical. And other senior teachers, such as myself, will be rotating and holding the space on Sunday mornings here. So it's a real honor to carry this on with all of you and get to know you, meet you where you are, practice with you. Hi. And but Trudy wanted to say a few words to explain. Yeah, welcome. Great to see you. How are you? Yeah.
So I'm going to wait a few minutes since people are probably still arriving.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And just by way of introduction, for those of you who don't know me, I know maybe some other people will arrive. But as I was saying, I've been a teacher with InsightLA for over 20 years, which sounds like a long time. And I'm a licensed clinical social worker, so I'm also a therapist. And teach Dharma, but also because of my clinical background, I've been a longtime practitioner of mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindful self-compassion, those kinds of things. So I do like to kind of take traditional Dharma and infuse it with interesting insights into neuroscience and inform it that way, make it as relevant as possible. And this morning, I thought I would love to offer and focus on the theme of cultivating compassion. I hope that feels really welcome to everybody. Yeah. So, Lisa Kring. Yeah.
So Lisa, are people still arriving there in the hall?
You know, I don't see anybody coming in, but they may be walking up the stairs as I'm talking. Don't know. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. I love having this because then I don't have to work. I can just allow my voice to be natural. It's really nice. I also want to really give a deep bow and a thanks to Alexis and to Corey who were here helping. Deep bow. Oh my goodness, tech support. You have no idea. Thank you so much for your practice, for your time. And Alexis made coffee and put out treats, so really thankful. I arrived and everything was set up already. It was amazing.
So Lisa, I think I will just begin now, if that's okay,
Yeah,
since
please. Go
I
ahead.
don't see people arriving. And, I wanted to welcome and thank you. Lisa is my Dharma sister, somebody that I mentored over the years at InsightLA, and Lisa has taught at InsightLA for a long, long time, and she has served on the board. Basically, Lisa, you have given so much of yourself to this organization, and I am really grateful to you and very happy that that you're here. And for everybody, I'm going to miss seeing you for the next few months. I have to say that it has not been easy for me to decide this, but my doctors are so happy that I am taking a leave of absence. And I'm actually in Spain right now. Last week, I told everybody that I would be visiting our little 5-year-old grandson and his lovely parents for 5 weeks here in this little village called Frigiliana, which is about an hour south of Malaga in Andalusia. It's a very
Mm.
small village. You can walk from one end to the other in way less than an hour. And so it's a very peaceful, restful place for me to be right now. And I'll check in with you from time to time. You all have my email address, and I don't know who's moderating the online group today. Is it? Oh, thanks. Thanks, Camille. You know my address, so you can just put it in the chat if people want to be in touch. That's fine. And I'm just really grateful to you, Lisa, grateful to all of you who are showing up and supporting your practice. And, you know, this group is called Trudy and Friends. And for a while, it's going to be Friends. So, yeah. And I don't know, are you taking it over, Lisa, mostly? Or,
Oh, no, no. I think
okay,
my understanding is there's going to be a
it's
small group of us rotating, and because I live on the east side, I'm happy to come once a month because of
okay.
distance,
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
if needed, it was really easy to get here this morning, but it's going to be
It's still a
definitely
long
friends.
way.
Friends is appropriate.
Yeah. And Thomas will be teaching next week, and I know some of you are definitely Thomas fans, so that's great. And I'm happy to hear from you, so please don't hesitate to email me, and I'll miss you for a while. Thank you, everybody. I love you. And just keep up your practice, keep coming Sunday morning, keep supporting both your practice and InsightLA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trudy. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Without the Trudy, there'd be no Inside LA without Trudy, so. All right, and welcome all of you online that have just come on, perhaps. Come on in, everybody. So, what I'd love to do is offer, and before we start, why don't you just turn to anyone that perhaps you don't know who's nearby you and just introduce yourself and say hi. It's so nice to do that. Just, yeah. These are wonderful. These are folks that, yeah, yeah, yeah. Get to know your buddies here, and because this is really a community, and I'm sure that as you get to know each other better, it breaks the ice, and these are people that you want to spend time with, right? That you're all here. It's so beautiful. All right, so settle in, please, and I'll offer a guided meditation. I'm going to focus on compassion, and we'll start with a very simple practice of being with the breath so that we can settle. And then I'll allow and see what it feels like and invite compassion to flow really naturally on the breath and see how that feels as a way to practice compassion. So, so happy we're all here, cozy in the rain on this Sunday morning. And I invite you to close your eyes. And those of you online, getting comfortable wherever you are. And it's really nice because the breath will be the anchor to find a posture that feels relaxed but awake. This is a practice of really waking up to the true heart nature, to the nature that is here and available. So see what it's like to move into a posture that feels awake, especially in the chest region. If you want to open the chest a bit, expand, open the heart center, and just see how that feels physically as a way to warm up and open. So just landing and resting in the warmth of the body, the weight of the body in the room, in the most natural and relaxed way possible. Yeah. The body, you are already here, present. So allowing all the time you need for that truth to be felt. Just resting and landing. And you can find the safe and simple place to land for yourself this morning already available. Just some region or area of the body where it feels pretty easy, relatively easy, to just connect, to feel, and to rest. Perhaps just the placement of the hands. Dropping deep down into the weight of the body, connected to the chair, the floor, the earth, resting in that connection. Whatever feels best and natural. And as you begin to land and settle just a bit into the truth of this moment, this body, see what it's like to just release any preferences, any expectations. Allowing the mind to unburden, to release. And just open. Take a moment as you settle to give yourself a lot of credit for coming this morning. It is no small thing. And as a way to direct your practice this morning, to tune into perhaps the deep, good heart that brought you here. What that is about, feeling into, tuning into. The deep and wholesome intentions, honoring them and giving them space. And as I was saying, if you like, you can, if you haven't already, you can begin to rest in the flow of the breath, already here. And there's no need, of course, to manipulate or control the breath. You can take a few deep cleansing breaths, really drinking in deeply the flow of the breath, really feeling the sensations in the belly and throughout the lungs, the tip of the nose, really warming up the sensations, the flow of the breath in the body, really feeling, connecting, resting. Whatever helps support. As a way to settle a bit more fully, you can allow the awareness of the breath to resonate with the sensations that are particularly relaxing and easeful and soothing. Allow the breath to breathe you. Allow the breath to do all of the work for you. Now, if it feels best just to rest in the breath in this way, excuse me, please know that you can just stay with that. But if it feels comfortable and welcome, you can allow the flow of the breath to gently move into the heart center, flowing into the heart center wherever that is located for you, where there can be qualities of warmth and connection, compassion and kindness. And sit back just a little bit, really sitting back. And allow the breath to flow and connect to and open and warm up the heart region. Letting the heart be soothed and nourished by the breath. And just noticing if there are any sensations as you do so. Perhaps the heart feels closed or numb. Or perhaps the heart feels more open and warm. Either way, just allowing the breath to flow in, to connect, and to tune into the heart this morning. Where is the heart at? And letting that be with every breath. And as a way to allow the breath to be a very natural flow of compassion, if you like, you can focus the awareness of the breath as it flows in and out of the heart. The lungs are literally nestling the heart. Holding the heart. You can incline the awareness a bit more directly into the flow of the in-breath, just inclining to the flow as it actually feels right now, not in the abstract, but in truth, feeling the in-breath and allowing that to be a flow of compassion and understanding that is flowing towards you and is all for you without limit, as natural and abundant and available as this breath that flows naturally. And as you drink in the breath, letting it nourish and replenish the heart. Perhaps that in any way for you at this moment of your life is heavy with any challenge or suffering of any kind. This is true for all of us. And simply allow the breath as it flows in to be a tonic, a river of compassion. All for you. All for you. The flow of compassion can go to those nooks and crannies in the heart those knots, those places of fear and worry and loss. Simply allow it to flow there with love. Wherever it needs to flow. Now, once again, if this feels quite rich and important, please stay with the in-breath primarily. It's really for you to know in the way that only you can know in relationship to your own heart. But if the heart feels relatively balanced and resourced, you can allow the awareness to flow to the out breath primarily now. And just notice what it's like to feel the out breath as it flows out of the heart. And this can be an outflow of compassion if it feels appropriate and natural. You can bring to mind anyone who in your life that you care about, who perhaps is in need of some of this flow, of some of this kind of deep love and care in response to any struggle. And you can allow the out-breath to be a tangible, visceral experience flowing from your heart outward. Towards that being. And see how it feels to be connected in compassion through the breath. Just resting in that flow naturally. Let the breath do all of that for you. Tapping into the ocean of compassion there, perhaps. And then in the last option for this practice is for these last minutes, to rest in the full length of the breath, just as it is, allowing it to continue to be a flow of deep and natural compassion. And with every in-breath, that is all for you, all for you. Drinking it in as you breathe in naturally. And as you breathe out, see what it's like to allow it to flow outward as far or as close, as wide or as singular as feels right. resting in an ocean of compassion. It's also really nice when we practice together to allow this flow of compassion to be supported by the tangible sense of us all practicing together, all breathing the same breath together in compassion for ourselves and others, including also all of you online, connecting us with everyone here in the space, breathing together. And see if you can really invite that connection as support with every breath. I'd like to end by offering this poem by Mark Nepo. It is called Just Opening. Having loved enough and lost enough, I am no longer searching, just opening. No longer trying to make sense of pain, but trying to be a soft and sturdy home in which real things can land. These are the irritations that rub into a pearl. So we can talk a while, but then we must listen. The way rocks listen to the sea. And we can churn at all that goes wrong, but then we must lay down all distractions and water every living seed. And yes, on nights like tonight, I too feel alone. But seldom do I face it squarely enough to see that it is a door into the endless breath that has no breather, into the surf that human shells call the divine. And look, the sun has come out. Even with my eyes closed, I noticed that the sun came out like midway through. It's kind of beautiful. So enjoying that. So I'm not sure the format that Trudy teaches here, but I wanted to know everyone's names, but I'm not quite sure how to do that online as well. But I think what I'll do is just offer some words on compassion. Is there tends to be a go around where people say their names or no? No? For those of you who, okay, because I want so much to bring you all in, for your voices to be in the room, not just mine. You know, this is such a community, such a collective experience. But I'd like to talk about compassion a bit, and then we'll open it up to questions and maybe getting to know you all a little bit more, opening it also to questions online. Compassion is such a profound topic. And so what I'd like to do is just kind of give a basic definition, although I'm sure many of you who've been practicing for a while have a sense of this. And then I want to establish a little bit of nuance and hopefully and give you some stories that might illuminate kind of how this can flow, how it flows for me in my life. So compassion is really best described, as many of you know. It's one of the Brahma Viharas. And Brahma Vihara is translated as, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's translated as being a kind of a heavenly abode, a safe house for the heart. Isn't it beautiful to know that these things exist for us? And compassion, of course, is the heart's refuge in direct response to moments of suffering. So when is that not the case? I ask you, you know? It's so prevalent, so it's such a profound thing. And the Brahma Viharas, I am going to talk about Analayo. How many of you know the Venerable Analayo? He's a famous teacher in our tradition. He's a scholar, and I'm going to reference him a little bit on his definition. But he talks about the Brahma Viharas in this really beautiful way, using the metaphor of the sun. And he says that, for instance, the sun rising at dawn is mudita, is sympathetic joy. It's this shining up towards others, right? And loving kindness is, these are the four Brahma Viharas. I'm sure all of you know this. I take it that you do. And the four Brahma Viharas, no, okay. It's, I'm going to focus on compassion, but the other heavenly abodes for the heart is mudita, it's sympathetic joy. It's really taking part in celebrating the joy of others, right? I'm not going to focus on that, but that's the sun rising. It's very beautiful. And then the sun at noon in the top of the sky is loving kindness. There's just this really simple, beautiful light of wishing goodwill to others, of really friendly wishes, of goodwill to ourselves and others. And then compassion is the sun setting. Isn't that beautiful? There's something kind of bittersweet about that, isn't it? You know, the way that it can shine deep down into the clouds, those deep, rich colors. It's the setting sun, it's the day ending, right? And then the fourth Brahma Vihara is equanimity. And this is this balanced state of being with the truth of things, with more wisdom, more perspective. And the image of that is the moon, the full moon at night. Isn't that beautiful? So in a way, these words, saying these words, they point to very deep qualities of the heart. And so I like the images because it helps us kind of drop into it just a little bit more. So I'll focus on compassion, which is that sunset in the heart, right? And compassion is the heart's response to any suffering that may arise for ourselves and others. And, you know, it's considered one of the primary foundational wings of practice. Maybe some of you have heard this, that the practice really starts to fly like the wings of a bird, and that one wing is wisdom, and the other wing is compassion. And that these two practices are so foundational that it is only then when these two practices really start to live in us, start to flow in our lives, that our practice starts to fly in this way. And so the first wing, of course, is wisdom, and that's where we start to land into the present moment, into things as they are. It is a waking up into the truth of things as they are. How many of you kind of know what I mean by that through your practice? It's why a lot of people don't practice, because they're like, whoa. Do you know what I mean? Right. Oh, I don't know if I want to know that. Do you know what I mean? It takes courage to wake up with wisdom to the truth of things. The truth is that nothing lasts. There is really nothing to hold on to. Nothing is no external conditions are not reliable or sustainable for true happiness. Like do you ever feel like you're trying to hold on and it's like quicksand, you know? It's true, that's the way things are, and we wake up to that. Oh my goodness, I can't really hold on to anything. Wow, that's profound, right? Nothing lasts, things are constantly changing. And there's the nature of things being unsatisfactory. You know, it's very rare that moments perfectly align to our wishes. When does that happen? Anybody? Very rarely, right? And we're navigating this truth all the time. The unsatisfactoriness, the impermanence, that it's not personal, all these things. So it can be painful when we start to wake up as things as they are, which is why the other wing of compassion has to be there. Compassion shows up. It's the juiciness of our practice. It keeps it juicy. It keeps the heart, and it allows, it's almost like the glue, because it's a refuge to the truth of things as they are, so that we can stay with things as they are with love, and that the heart can radically open, that love allows us to really transform in those moments, so that you can see it's just essential. Doesn't it make sense that we need that compassion? We need that heart peace in order to be with things as they are. And in fact, it is the portal in which we transform and become liberated. So compassion is a very profound practice. I think what's nice too, and I wanted to bring the Venerable Analayo, he has a great book, I highly recommend it, Compassion and Emptiness. It's a beautiful book on compassion, early Buddhist meditation. So often what can happen with compassion practice for all of us is that when we do meet suffering, how many of you notice this, that it can be a downward spiral, that we become flooded with suffering, that it's a downer. How many of you have experienced that? And that when we start to open our hearts with what we think is compassion practice, we become flooded with suffering, right? And then we're like, I'm drowning in this. This is really, I can't stay afloat. How is this a heavenly abode for my heart? I don't understand, right? So the Venerable Analayo, he makes a very clear distinction that when we're practicing compassion, we're not focusing so much on the suffering, which, yes, we're feeling that enough. We've got our toe into the truth of that. But then, for it to be true compassion, we're actually shifting into the wish, the compassionate wish that we be free of the suffering, that ourselves and others will be free of it. So it's the wish, compassion is the wish that we be free from it. So I just want to read from here because it's beautiful. He says, compassion is concerned with the other being free from affiliation. This also is true for ourselves as well, being free from affiliation or from affliction. The wish for them to be free from suffering. It's important because mentally dwelling on the actual suffering would be contemplation of dukkha. Do you see that? It's not about wallowing and drowning in dukkha. It's feeling it and then letting the heart open with the wish that there can be total freedom from that. He says the cultivation of compassion itself, however, finds its expression in the wish for the other to be free from suffering, or from oneself, I want to say. In this way, the mind takes the vision of freedom from affliction as the object. Such an object can generate a positive, at times even joyful state of mind, instead of resulting in sadness. It is undertaken with a positive or even joyful mind. Isn't this beautiful to hear, that it can be an experience of joy? And this kind of dovetails into present day neuroscience and understanding. And I want to differentiate too, this is kind of pointing to what Analayo is saying, that there is a difference, and I want to make this distinction as well, because this is where we can fall prey into being flooded. There is a difference between empathy and compassion. So I just want to take a moment so that to fine tune this so that you for yourself can also tune into this and really experience the benefits, the power of compassion. So empathy is that experience, and I'm sure you all know it, being with a friend or someone, or even in the world and what's happening, is that you feel someone else's suffering as it's your own. Do you guys know what I mean by that? You're putting yourself in someone else's shoes. You're feeling what someone else is feeling. This is empathy. Now, this is a very powerful, beautiful, affiliative experience, but it can be a downward spiral, right? Compassion is empathy plus love. It is this element of active loving that transforms it into an experience of joy, an experience of positive affiliation. They've actually done research on the brain of people and they've done these studies where they've shown that when people are in states of empathy, of empathic resonance with someone who's suffering, what it shows is that the parts of the brain that light up are really associated with more negative emotions, with more negative experiences. So it kind of shows that that's true. And then when they were able to help people connect to compassion, also in relation to suffering, what happened is completely different brain regions lit up. Isn't this beautiful to know that there's really something to this? That when we tap into compassion, these more positive regions of the brain do light up, and it's an upward spiral. It actually is an experience of of the possibility that we can all be free. And compassion, of course, is for the flow to ourselves and to others, right? How many of you in compassion, and I'll just get a sense of this, even from those online, how many of you feel that you can kind of open to this feeling of joy and compassion for others more easily than yourself? How many of you notice that? Yeah, it's typical, and I guess they've done research on this too, and 80% of the people, that's the case. And so sometimes we do have to learn, and in that practice that I offered, did you see how the breath flows to ourself and outward as natural and as equal? Do you see how that is? It's the same for these heart practices. It's as natural and available as the breath. And we learn to kind of allow this to flow to ourselves as well. So I wanted to tell some stories about compassion, just to bring this to life a little bit, and then we'll open it up to questions. But I think rather than me just talking kind of about this, but I hope that's really helpful in terms of differentiating between empathy and compassion, right? That we begin to start to feel into this, the difference of this. And I know Jack Corfield, he tells, when we start to tap into compassion, it is this way of kind of waking up, almost as if he talks about it as being kind of waking up from a blindness, that our hearts often, when we're on automatic pilot, we don't see the depth and the truth of what's really going on. He tells this story about he uses this story of walking out of the grocery store, and you've got two heavy bags of groceries, and you're walking, and you're trying to get to your car, and somebody comes out of left field and runs into you and bangs, and the groceries just go all over the ground, right? And of course, what happens? You get mad, right? You get frustrated, and there's this natural habitual tendency to kind of say, and turn to that person and say, what the hell are you doing? And in turning, there's this moment where you realize the person that has run into you is actually blind. How does that change your experience of that? All of a sudden, for most of us anyway, that anger, that aversion, it melts away with that heartfelt experience of compassion in seeing that, oh my goodness, this person's experience is just not what I understood it to be. And all of the anger goes away, and you go to help that person, and you pick it up, and that moment is transformed, right? From aversion into a shared sense of, oh my goodness, I had no idea, right? And this is where we start to see with eyes of compassion. And it does liberate our suffering. We are less prone to these more reactive states of mind. And I have a story that I'd like to share that was kind of experience of this for me, like an experience of compassion. And I have two airport stories. It's my story, and then I want to share with you a poem. So I was at the airport. Airport is a good place for practice. Have any of you noticed that? It's just a really right place for practice in all kinds of levels. And I think I was actually coming home from a retreat, so I was still kind of very mindful. And I was waiting at the gate. We were all waiting at the gate, to board the plane. And there was a man sitting next to me, and we were all just sitting together, strangers, of course. And the man sitting next to me was on his cell phone, and he was speaking very loudly into the cell phone, like really loudly, like very loud. And it was irritating, right? It was kind of like, why is he talking so loud? And what happened was, in the collective space of everyone sitting there waiting, right, for our plane, is that you could see, and do you all know in collective spaces, whether they're be public or personal, do you ever get a mood and a sense that starts like a wave of irritation that starts to move through the space? And so that's what happened, and I noticed it happening where everybody got really irritated with this gentleman, right? And everybody was looking at each other and eye rolling and going, oh, and it became kind of like this dukkha wave, and everybody was just going, oh, and like, and it was this collective thing. You guys know, right? And often I like to practice where I tune into the field, the collective field, and I see where it's at. And you know how these things are contagious, how easily we get swept into these kinds of waves of the field. And my practice sometimes is to feel what that is, but to really not get caught and not go with the more unwholesome kind of field, and to drop down into my practice and to kind of regulate myself and not get pulled into that, because I don't want to contribute to unwholesome states, right? So I'm sitting there, so I kind of sit back. I see everyone's very irritated, and I sit back and I kind of become a little bit more mindful. And what I notice when he's talking very loudly into the phone that I hadn't noticed before until I kind of settled in was that he was talking very loudly, but he was so happy. He was really happy talking to this person. It was like he was just really enjoying this conversation, even though he was so loud. And I was like, oh, he's happy. It kind of changed it for me. And I was like, wow, okay, that's great. And it didn't bother me so much. Do you know what I mean by that? It kind of was like, great, I'm glad he's happy. And then, so I'm okay with this. And then they call our plane to board. And everybody starts standing up, including this gentleman next to me. And what I notice is that he starts to walk away, and he's walking in the wrong direction. He's not walking towards the gate. And I notice that he's blind. And suddenly, I want to cry. It just was such an emotional thing that I hadn't realized that about him. And he was walking the wrong way. And so I started to walk, and I've got some attendants that, were working at the gate. And we all went over to him and we gently kind of guided him back. And I have to say, he was a very joyful person. And he was so happy for the help. And we just started, and the whole wave of compassion just started to flow throughout the gate. And as we walked him to the gate, there was this recognition of everybody that you could watch as they noticed the truth that he was blind. And the compassion, it's like the whole thing shifted. And everyone started helping him. And it was and everybody, you could see people catching themselves like I did and go, oh my goodness. We don't really know what's really going on with anybody, do we? Do you know what I mean? And often, if you can fall into statements of judgment or aversion, it's a deep practice to kind of sit back and wonder, my goodness, I wonder what is really going on with that person, And it just kind of helps check that. And there can be an opportunity for our hearts to open with compassion to others who perhaps are unskillfully causing suffering for themselves or others. And it can shift the field, it can shift your heart, and you suffer less, and it can transform that experience. The last thing I wanted to read, and maybe some of you have heard this, does anyone here know the poet Naomi Shihab Nye? Does anyone know her? She's a beautiful poet. She is of Palestinian background. And it's called a poem, but it's another airport experience of compassion. And I'm just going to end with this. Let me see what time it is. And then I'd like to open it up so that we can explore this together. So you have any questions or sharing about compassion practice. But this is another kind of beautiful way to describe that when we do tap into compassion, it is joyful, it's active, it's a verb, it's responsive, it's holding suffering with love, it's feeling but holding with love. But it is responsive, and it can shift and change any moment. And so this is called Gate A4. So it's another airport practice story. So she says, wandering around the Albuquerque airport terminal, after learning my flight had been delayed for 4 hours, I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of Gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandmother wore, was crumpled on the floor, wailing, "Help, help, she's crying," she said to the flight agent. And the flight agent says, "Please, please talk to her. What is her problem? She's wailing on the floor." We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stopped to put my arm around the woman, and I spoke haltingly. And then this is some Arabic that I cannot pronounce. And the minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought that the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for a major medical treatment the next day. I said, no, we're fine. You'll get there. Just later. Who's picking you up? Let's call him. We called her son. I spoke to him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad. and she spoke for a while in Arabic. It's so sweet. And found out, of course, that they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets I know and let them chat with her? This took up to 2 hours. Isn't this beautiful? Do you feel how this is something that perhaps we can all tap into with the right heart quality? She was laughing a lot by then, telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds stuffed with dates and nuts from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, and it makes me emotional. I have to pause because I guess it makes me sad about all the division that we have in the world right now, So I think this is like, to me, it represents a profound opportunity and possibility. It is that compassionate wish that we all come together, right? That we understand that we're all together. So I think this is why it's particularly moving to me, because I think my heart is heavy with this. I don't know if you are too, right? Anyway, let me try to get through this, okay? It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo. We were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. I wish I had those. I should have brought these cookies to share. Should have passed out cookies. See, I'll taste the sweetness of that. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and 2 little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they were covered with powdered sugar too. Isn't that beautiful? And I noticed my new best friend. By now we were holding hands, and she had a potted plant poking out of her bag, some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition. Always carry a plant. Always stay rooted to somewhere. Isn't that beautiful? And I looked around the gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this is the world I want to live in. The shared world. Not a single person in the gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. I wanted to hug all those other women too. This can still happen anywhere. Not all is lost. So, I'm sorry. But maybe not all is lost in compassion. Do you feel the power of it and the beauty of it and the positiveness of it? And that in fact, we're not drowning. We are replenishing and we're feeding and nourishing each other through this practice. I would say that it is like a nourishment. I would say it's like drinking at an oasis, you know. It's like that. So I hope that that's a beautiful story, isn't it? And doesn't it kind of capture better than anything I could say how deep this could be? And you know, you walk out the door today and think of the possibility in the supermarket, right? In the most ordinary places, how we can begin to connect and understand and be responsive and connect in ways that feel appropriate. So it's a practice that compassion is a practice we can do formally in terms of inclining the heart in this direction. In the practice that I offered, the breath, where it can flow to ourselves and to others, right? That we allow it to be a flow. And then it can also be very alive as you go about your day, really tuning into this quality of the heart and exploring and seeing where it can flow, like those powdered cookies, right?